It's such a tender thing, this impulse to help your children. Even when they're grown, even when their hair is turning gray, a part of your heart still sees them as the little ones who once held your hand crossing the street. So when they come to you and say, "Mom, Dad, I just need a little help," your first instinct is almost always yes. It feels natural, it feels loving. But somewhere deep inside, you may have noticed another feeling creeping in, the quiet ache of worry, the question you don't always want to ask yourself: can I really afford this? And what happens if I can't? Aging has a way of changing the meaning of generosity. In your younger years, you could stretch, recover, rebuild. There was more time, more energy, more room to bounce back from setbacks. But now, every choice has more weight. Each dollar you give away isn't just money, it's a piece of the security you've worked your whole life to build. And here's the gentle truth: you are not wrong for feeling hesitant, even if you also feel guilty. That inner conflict is simply the wisdom of age reminding you that your well-being matters too. What worked in your 40s or 50s may not serve you in your 70s. That doesn't make you less generous, it makes you more aware, more thoughtful, more deeply loving in a different way. Think for a moment about how you've changed over the years. Isn't it interesting how your body and mind seem to hold on to stress differently now? What once felt like a small sacrifice may linger longer, draining not only your bank account but also your sense of peace. And when peace is disturbed, everything, from your sleep to your health, can begin to feel unsettled. So perhaps the real question is this: how do you balance that enduring desire to give with the equally important need to protect yourself? That's not selfishness, it's balance. It's acknowledging that love doesn't always mean saying yes. Sometimes love is found in honesty, in boundaries, in teaching resilience by not always rescuing. Imagine what it would feel like if your child, instead of leaning on your pocketbook, learned to lean on their own strength. Wouldn't that, in the end, be a greater gift? There's no need to rush into answers, and certainly no need to feel ashamed for asking these questions. They are part of the natural shift that aging brings. Less about proving yourself through sacrifice, more about nurturing peace and sustainability for the years ahead. And as you reflect on these thoughts, I'd love to know, where are you reading this from today? Leave a quick comment and share your location. It always makes these conversations feel warmer. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She's 72, a gentle woman with silver hair who always believed her role as a mother was to be a safety net for her children. When her son asked for help with what he described as a short-term problem, she didn't think twice. She reached into her savings and told herself it was just for now, just until he got back on his feet. But months passed, then years, and the money never returned. Eleanor couldn't bring herself to ask for repayment. Her heart ached at the thought of making her son feel pressured or ashamed. Instead, she quietly adjusted her own life. She stopped buying the small treats she once enjoyed at the grocery store. She turned down an invitation to join her friends on a trip because the cost felt too heavy. On the outside, she remained supportive, smiling, saying everything was fine. But inside, she carried the heavy burden of guilt and unspoken regret. Her story isn't rare, and maybe it stirs something in you too. You see, many loving parents find themselves in this same pattern, giving, sacrificing, and silently hoping things will change. But love doesn't mean draining yourself dry. Real love, especially in these years of your life, includes protecting your own well-being. It may sound surprising, but caring for yourself is one of the most powerful ways you continue to care for your family. When you weaken your financial foundation, it isn't just your life that becomes unstable, it's theirs too, because they will one day need to step into the role of support if you no longer can. Think about this gently. When you consider lending money, ask yourself a simple but profound question. If this money never comes back, will I still feel at peace? Not just will I survive, but will my heart and mind remain calm? If the answer is no, then perhaps the act of giving is not an act of love, but an act of quiet self-harm. It can be hard to face that truth, but it's a truth wrapped in wisdom, not judgment. There are other ways to help, ways that keep you strong while still allowing your children to feel your love. Sometimes support looks like listening. Sometimes it looks like sharing guidance from your own life experience. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, "I can't give money, but I can sit with you and help you think of other solutions." These small but steady gestures often leave a deeper impact than another check ever could. And remember this: your security, your health, your sense of peace, they are not selfish priorities. They are gifts you continue to offer your family simply by maintaining them. When you stand steady, they see what strength looks like. When you care for yourself, they learn the deeper lesson of responsibility. You don't need to change everything overnight, and you don't need to harden your heart. All you need is the courage to pause, to reflect, and to trust that sometimes a gentle no is really a higher form of yes. If these thoughts resonate with you, if you find comfort in knowing you're not alone in facing these choices, take a moment to subscribe. That way we can keep walking this path together, sharing more gentle wisdom and reminding one another that love is never about how much we give away. It's about how deeply we nurture what lasts. It's important to recognize that the stress you feel around money isn't just in your mind, it shows up in your body too. When you agree to lend money you can't really spare, even if you tell yourself it's only temporary, your body often responds with quiet signals that something feels unsafe. Elevated stress hormones like cortisol rise when you worry about your finances. And while in your younger years your body may have recovered quickly, with age those stress chemicals linger longer. They can raise your blood pressure, tighten your chest, disturb your sleep, and even cloud your memory. That's why a single financial decision can ripple into your overall well-being in ways you might not expect. You might notice your shoulders aching more often, or that you wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about whether you'll be able to cover your bills. These aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of your body speaking to you, asking for gentler care. Stress in your later years doesn't just pass like a summer storm, it tends to settle in, like a long winter that takes more effort to shake off. And money worries are one of the heaviest weights you can carry into that winter. Imagine how different it feels when you allow yourself the security of saying no to a request that threatens your peace. Your sleep deepens, your breath feels easier, and your days have more lightness. By protecting your financial stability, you're not only keeping your wallet safe, you're giving your heart, your nervous system, and even your immune system the chance to stay stronger for longer. It can feel almost invisible at first, but over time you begin to notice the difference. Fewer headaches, more energy, and a calmer mind. Think about this for yourself. When was the last time financial worry kept you awake at night? How did it feel in your body, in your chest, your stomach, your back? And if you had chosen differently, if you had placed your peace first, how might your body have thanked you? These are not questions meant to judge you, but to help you see that your health is part of the equation every time you reach into your savings. The love you carry for your children is real, but so is the love your body needs from you now. Giving yourself permission to prioritize your health is not selfish. It is a quiet act of devotion that ensures you'll be present, steady, and alive to share your wisdom in the years still to come. When a grown child asks you for money, it's so easy to feel caught between your heart and your common sense. You want to protect them, but you also want to protect yourself. The good news is that you can do both if you allow yourself to create gentle, thoughtful boundaries. The first step is simple, though not always easy. Pause.
When you hear the request, instead of giving an immediate answer, give yourself at least 24 hours. That small space of time allows your emotions to settle, so your decision comes from wisdom rather than pressure. The second step is to quietly ask yourself, is this request about a true emergency, or is it about maintaining a lifestyle? An emergency, like sudden medical needs or something that directly affects safety, may deserve a different response than a request that comes from poor planning or repeated habits. By naming the difference, you give yourself clarity that reduces guilt. The third step is to consider what alternatives you can offer besides money. Perhaps you can share a meal together so they save on groceries, or sit down with them to review their budget. Sometimes a calm, loving conversation about options is more valuable than any sum you could hand over. You might even connect them with resources, community programs, or job opportunities that strengthen their independence. These acts of support send a powerful message. I'm here for you, but I believe you are capable too. The fourth step is to speak your boundary with kindness but firmness. You might say, I can't lend you money, but I can help you think of solutions. Or, I need to protect my retirement, but I'm happy to share a meal and talk this through with you. Notice how these words don't shut the door, they open another kind of door, one that leads to growth rather than dependence. Boundaries are not walls. They are like gentle railings along a path. Without them, both you and your child risk stumbling. With them, you both have something steady to hold on to. It may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you're used to saying yes, but over time, these boundaries bring peace. They help you preserve your financial and emotional strength while also giving your children the chance to discover their own resilience. Ask yourself softly, how would it feel if I could support my child without feeling depleted? How would my days be lighter if I trusted that saying no to money was not the same as saying no to love? These are the kinds of questions that can guide you toward choices that nurture both your heart and your future. You don't need to change everything overnight. Start with one pause, one thoughtful distinction, one kind boundary. Each small step you take is an act of love for yourself and for those who matter most.
Dollars can be spent and forgotten, but the security of knowing you were steady, that you cared enough to both give and withhold when it mattered, that is what leaves a lasting imprint. Think about the times in your own life when you grew the most. Was it because someone always stepped in and made things easy? Or was it because you had to struggle, to stretch, to find strength you didn't know you had? By allowing your children to face those moments, you are giving them the same gift. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to trust that they are capable of carrying their own load, even if it feels heavy for them in the beginning. And here's the part that matters for you. Protecting your financial and emotional foundation is also an act of love. Your steadiness is what your children will draw from as they face the ups and downs of their own lives. If you weaken yourself for their sake, you not only lose your peace, you may unintentionally place a new burden on them in the future. There's nothing unkind about choosing to remain strong. In fact, it may be the greatest kindness you can offer. Allow yourself to see boundaries not as rejection, but as teaching tools, as quiet lessons in resilience. Love isn't measured by how much you give away. It's measured by how deeply you stay connected, how fully you remain yourself, how wisely you choose the timing and manner of your support. That's the kind of love that endures long after money is gone. So, if you've been holding on to the belief that saying no means closing your heart, I invite you to loosen that grip. Notice how it feels to imagine saying no with compassion, while still keeping your arms open, your ears listening, your heart available. This balance is what brings peace to both sides. And maybe, just maybe, it allows your children to see a version of you that is not only generous, but also wise, grounded, and whole. If this touched you, stay with us. Subscribe and be part of this circle of wisdom, where we remind each other that love is deeper than money. And tell me, have you ever struggled with saying no to lending money to family? What did you learn from it?